I'm told this was a chase that started in central Fresno, came down Blackstone into this area, and we're going to be careful because the street is still open, but you can see a vehicle has crashed into the yard of one of the homes here. Ken, you can see the Visalia Fire Department here behind me. They're going to stay here throughout the night to make sure there's no more flare-ups, but we're getting our first look at the damage of this fire. Early estimates from fire crews, $1.5 million in damage. Most of us have done this. We pull up to the gas pump, open up our gas tank, and the first thing we reach for is our bank card. So we stand over here, we run it in the pump, just like that, and we pay for our gas. Now the problem is, crooks know this, and if they've tampered with this pump, investigators say they could be lurking nearby and downloading your card information right into the palm of their hands. It's all part of a scheme to steal our money. These 5 men were identified as Fresno's most wanted. Now, since that time, all 3 of these suspects have been arrested. The latest arrest happening this afternoon. So now the focus for police is on these 2 suspects. The reality is every year student athletes jog off of fields like the one here behind me with concussions that have gone undiagnosed. But imagine if coaches and parents could use something as simple as a smartphone to check ththose athletes after every game. Firefighters tell me that fire has been fueled since 8 o'clock tonight by walnuts because they can be extremely oily, and that oil makes that fire burn more intensely and even hotter, making it far too dangerous for firefighters to go inside.
So Patrick, investigators say this person has an extensive criminal history. What are you finding out?
Well, it turns out he's just 21 years old, and he's actually spent most of his adult life either in court or behind bars. And I dug up court records today. One thing that really stood out to me in this investigation was the fact that the experts say drugs are still the #1 moneymaker for gangs, but human trafficking is right there. And in the next 10 years, human trafficking may be the #1 source of revenue for gangs in our community.
And it's that change in thinking, too, from the police perspective to seeing the prostitutes as victims, oftentimes doing this or sometimes doing this against their will.
That's been huge because now these victims have been able to get help, and they're a new voice in this fight to some of these women to help get them out of these dangerous situations. Tonight we're riding along with Fresno Police. This is all part of a special operation the next 2 weeks to crack down on violence in the city of Fresno. Patrick Nelson coming to you again from the rough fire. You can see it burning. There are certainly some lasting images here still, and a huge crime scene here behind me. I'm standing on blood-stained sidewalk, and I want to show you this. See that freezer out there in the street? That was inside the concert. There's blood on it. It was used as a gurney to wheel someone out who was injured in this shooting. And if you look up in the daylight, you can actually see the broken window where this all took place, the shooter shooting out that window. This is where the FBI is executing a search warrant in connection to the San Bernardino shootings. Don, this is where the nightmare unfolded overnight inside of the Century 16 movie theater.
Hey, Patrick, what are you hearing? There was just a status update.
Well, Don, we just got done with a press conference, and it's been such an exhausting couple days for folks living here in Colorado Springs, about an hour south of Denver. You can see what's happened to their mountain backdrop. What do you think about seeing this stuff underwater?
Well, it's been there a long time.
The USS Lexington, a key piece of World War II history, found at the bottom of the sea 76 years after a battle in the South Pacific. Gordon Scott, an 18-year-old from Kingsburg, was on the flight deck during a battle with the Japanese on May 8, 1942.
I've been pretty lucky.
When you say lucky, why do you feel lucky?
I'm alive. I'm alive. It was 3 torpedoes that hit the ship and 2 bombs. But we were still able to land planes back aboard and started refueling them, but then the explosions apparently had ruptured gas lines down below and started fires.
What's it like to be on a ship in the middle of a war? You're a teenager and this ship is going down. Do you remember what was going through your mind and what that's like?
Well, probably damn scared. There's a difference in scared. There's people that can be scared and still do your job you have to do, but I don't know of anyone that wasn't scared. Just under 2,900 some people aboard the Lexington, and no, it's just kind of unbelievable.
Scott was rescued from the shipwreck. Now living at the Veterans Home of California in Fresno, Scott is 96 years old, telling this rare story. Do you know of many other folks that are still around that were on the Lexington?
I don't know of any. I don't know of any. All my friends that I knew are all gone.
Scott keeps a list of all those from the Lexington's crew who perished. It's a war story he shares with modesty. Just to know you were a part of this. I mean, they call you guys the greatest generation.
Well, there's other people who are great. No, it's quite a deal.
A man who lives here says he spent the last several years trying to get people to slow down, even investing in traffic cones like this one. But so far, nothing has worked, but he refused to give up.
It is everybody from young to old just flying through here. So now I've become known as the crazy guy in the neighborhood.
Jason Reynolds and his family have lived on West Spruce, just up the street from Nelson Elementary, the last 4 years. In this 30-mile-per-hour zone, Reynolds is tired of people speeding.
And I got fed up and I decided, you know what, I'm going to put my own speed limit sign out here.
This homemade sign and 25-mile-per-hour speed limit are the result of years of frustration.
We've had 4 dogs get ran over, including one of mine. We've had my wife actually pulling into our driveway has been rear-ended twice.
But most drivers aren't impressed.
Now it's gotten to the point to where people, as they come flying down my street, they wave at me sarcastically. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And they'll tell you the truth, I just can't comprehend why. It's just one small thing. One small thing, just slow down. That's all I ask, just for a minute.
The sign has been up for months. It wasn't until this week someone filed this complaint with the city through the Fresgo app. City officials say the sign needs to come down.
Residents are not able to post their own speed limits. They're not able to paint red curbing or install stop signs or other things like that.
But neighbors say they appreciate the sign.
Well, I have a 2-year-old and sometimes he runs out, so I think people should be more safe than sorry.
On a normal day, most people are 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. Yeah.
And that's too fast.
That's way too fast.
Still, the sign must go. But because of the neighborhood's support of Reynolds' stance, the city vows to take action.
With that concern, we're going to go ahead and go out and do what we call a engineering speed survey to see is there a warrant to actually lower that speed limit to 25.
Reynolds says he won't miss the sign and his mission won't change.
I mean, I'll take the sign down. You know, I'm not out here to break any laws or anything like that. I just want a peaceful street like everybody else around here has.
And back here live, here it is, the sign, maybe the last few hours that it'll be standing here in this neighborhood. But I'm told in addition to looking into perhaps making this the actual speed limit in this neighborhood, the Fresno Police Department has been notified as well, and they'll be doing regular patrols here to make sure people are not speeding.